I'm Will Scott. Welcome into Dolphins Today. We have some news. According to Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, Miami is shopping wide receivers Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden Jr. Preston has been in trade rumors after tweeting last week that he wants opportunities. He tweeted that out, and then the next day at training camp, he doubled down in a press conference, even calling out Mike McDaniel, saying that he wants to make his head coach a man of his word. Really bad look, and since then we've talked about Williams being a potential trade candidate. Breer is reporting that the Dolphins have talked to teams about moving Williams in addition to Lynn Bowden Jr. Now, Bowden Jr. did not play last season after suffering an injury, but he showed plenty of promise in his rookie season in 2020, a third-round pick that year out of Kentucky. Here is what Albert Breer said in Sports Illustrated this afternoon. The Dolphins have talked to other teams about potentially moving veteran receivers Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden Jr. Williams showed a ton of promise as a rookie with 32 catches for 428 yards, 3 touchdowns, but has leveled off since. Bowden came out of Kentucky as a sort of Swiss Army knife offensive weapon, having worked as a receiver, quarterback, return man in college. He was taken in the third round by the Raiders, traded to Miami before week 1 of his rookie year, and he has struggled to find a niche and battled injury since. So maybe someone out there will see something in one of these two and take a swing. Either way, it's probably smart of the Dolphins to get out in front of the glut of names likely to hit the trade market later in the month. This is why you subscribe to Dolphins Today, because we're going to break out Dolphins news, Dolphins rumors as it happens. Don't miss anything. Go down and subscribe and turn on your notifications, because if the Dolphins make a move, we're going to talk about it. Turning on your notifications is the best way to stay in the loop here on Dolphins Today. Go down, subscribe, hit that noti bell. So here is that Preston tweet. We're going to bring you up to speed here if you missed our show last week. So last week, Preston tweeted this after practice. Just one opportunity, hashtag shaking my head. No, this is not photoshopped. He actually tweeted this. This is not a pulled tweet from a high school football player. This is an NFL player tweeting this, just one opportunity, hashtag shaking my head. I'm shaking my head at that tweet. I'm also shaking my head at this quote from his press conference last week when he said this: I just feel like I'm not getting the opportunities that I deserve, not being on the field wise. Opportunities show that I can beat my man. Me and Mike McDaniel had a conversation back at OTAs. And the one specific thing I asked him was, I want my opportunities. He said, you'll get your opportunity. I just want to make him a man of his word. That's all. Here's what Preston did in his first 3 seasons in the NFL. Cannot stay on the field. Just 24 games played in 3 years. 8 games played in each of his first 3 seasons. 7 receptions, 787 yards, 56 receptions, 7 touchdowns. They should absolutely trade Preston Williams. They don't need him. You're absolutely loaded at the wide receiver position. Preston has been immature. He is someone who hasn't really been able to stay on the field. He's like, I want opportunities. Well, you've gotten opportunities. You have not been able to take advantage of them. Now, looking at this wide receiver depth chart, if you trade Williams, who right now I have as wide receiver 5 on the Dolphins depth chart, and by the way, they just released that depth chart. We're going to be talking about that on Dolphins Live on Thursday, 4 o'clock Eastern Time. You also have Lynn Bowden Jr. You brought in Trent Sherfield, Mohamed Sanu, River Craycraft, and then Braylon Sanders has been showing out at training camp. He is someone who can absolutely make this team. We'll get to him a little bit later on in the show. Here are some teams that might call the Dolphins about Williams. The Chicago Bears desperately need receiver help. Now, luckily, the N'Keal Harry injury is not as significant as feared. He had a high ankle sprain, but still, they still need wide receiver depth. The Falcons, they're so bad. The Denver Broncos need some help as well after the Tim Patrick injury. Kansas City Chiefs, Dallas Cowboys, other teams that might call the Dolphins about Preston Williams. Maybe these teams will be interested in Lynn Bowden Jr. as well. Now, when you're talking about Bowden, he missed all of last season, but I like Bowden. I would much rather keep Bowden than Preston Williams. Here is what LBJ did in his first season in the league. 2020, he had 28 receptions, 211 yards, 7.5 yards per catch, no touchdowns. But the guy is an athlete, and I would love to see what he can do under Mike McDaniel, because this is what he did last season at Kentucky. 403 passing yards. This guy went into his senior season at Kentucky, had all these injuries to their quarterbacks. They asked him to play quarterback. He becomes like the best athlete in the SEC, 403 yards, over 1,400 rushing yards, 348 receiving yards, 22 total touchdowns, was a first-team All-SEC player. He was fantastic. Now, just imagine an athlete like that in Mike McDaniel's system, which is why I would rather keep Bowden. If you're going to trade one of them, I don't see them trading both. I really don't. But if they're going to trade one of them, I think that needs to be Preston Williams, who, my opinion at least, probably doesn't want to be in Miami after the things that we've seen come out of his Twitter and come out of his press conferences in the last week. Now, if you had to pick one wide receiver to keep, who are you keeping? Is it Lynn Bowden Jr., type LB? Is it Preston Williams, type PW? It is the pinned comment on today's video. When ad break comes, go down, chime in, let me know who you would rather keep in Miami. Let's talk about Braylon Sanders, because a reason that the Dolphins might be shopping Williams and Bowden is because of how good this guy's looked. He's been a very pleasant surprise, was an undrafted free agent. Admittedly, wasn't really on my radar screen when looking at the 53-man roster. He can absolutely make this roster, has a legit shot after the first 2 weeks of camp. Here's what he did last season with Ole Miss. 24 receptions, 549 yards, 22.9 yards per catch, 4 touchdowns with the Rebels. So nothing crazy in terms of stats in college, but really the stat that stands out to me is yards per catch, nearly 23. This is a down-the-field threat. He's very, very quick. Has caught a couple of deep passes from Tua Tagovailoa and Skylar Thompson at training camp. River Craycraft has also looked outstanding in camp. I was a pretty big fan of that signing a few months back, but a lot of people didn't really think he had a chance to make the 53-man. Now he does after a solid showing in training camp. Before we get into more about the Dolphins, I want to tell you about our friends over at BetUS, because with football almost being back, us degenerates are also about to be back. And the way that you can bet is through BetUS, and it's the best way to bet because they're going to give you a 125% deposit bonus. So if you put $100 in, you're going to get $125 additional money, free money to bet with. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Dolphins125. If you want to get ballsy, Tua to win the MVP, plus $5,000. That means if you put $100 on Tua to win the MVP, you are going to get $5,000 back, and you're taking me out for drinks if you have that ticket. Or if you want to bet on the Dolphins to win the AFC East, plus $450. Again, BetUS, promo code Dolphins125. The link, chatsports.com/bet. That link is going to be in the comments and the description of this video. Now, a couple of y'all were hitting me up yesterday saying, did you see the news, Will? Did you see who the Dolphins brought in for a visit? Jake Lacina to Miami might be happening, ladies and gentlemen. They brought him in for a visit yesterday. 2 other centers as well. Lacina spent this past season with the USFL, played at Augustana University in South Dakota before signing with the Vikings as UDFA in 2020, was the best center in the USFL last season for the New Jersey Generals. The Dolphins desperately need some center help, especially with Michael Deiter out. Jake Lacina to Miami needs to happen. He came in for a workout yesterday. Now let's get this back trending. Tweet at the Miami Dolphins. Tweet at them. Hashtag Lacina to Miami, and I will retweet your tweet. And yes, I know that General Manager Chris Greer is not the Dolphins' social media manager, but still, let's get his attention. Let's let Miami know how much we want Lacina in a Dolphins uniform. Tweet at the Miami Dolphins. Hashtag Lacina to Miami, and I will retweet your tweet. Lacina to Miami. Let's make it happen. Turn on your notifications, because if it happens, we're going to have a party here on Dolphins Today. Cohl Cabral, someone else that the Dolphins brought in, who spent last season on the Saints practice squad, also spent time with the Vikings and the Texans. However, he does not have any NFL experience. They brought him in, as well as Cole Toner, who does have NFL experience, has appeared in 13 career NFL games, has spent time with Arizona, Cincinnati, New England, the Chargers and Houston, so kind of a journeyman. They brought him in. My opinion, Lacina is by far the best option here because when you're looking at kind of who's had the most recent success, yes, I understand that Toner has NFL experience, but Lacina was the best center in the USFL. A lot of USFL guys getting picked up. Now, if you had to pick one center to sign, is it Jake Lacina, is it Cohl Cabral, or is it Cohl Toner? Go down in the comments section and let me know. Now, I've been on Dolphins Twitter. A lot of Dolphins fans are talking about, why would they bring in centers? Is it because of the Michael Deiter injury situation, or is it because of the Connor Williams situation, kind of struggling? I would say both. I really would say both because Connor Williams, yes, he's been struggling. Yes, you look at Jake Lacina as a potential option to come in and maybe compete with Williams, but most people were in my replies yesterday saying, no, this is a Deiter replacement. I think it's both because Deiter has been injured for 2 weeks. So if this is a Deiter replacement, then why didn't they bring in these guys for visits 2 weeks ago? It's both. They need some depth at that. They need some depth at that position with Deiter out, but also they see that Connor Williams has been struggling, and they're like, okay, we need to start to take this position a little bit more seriously. Thanks for watching Dolphins Today. Appreciate you all watching and subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, go down and subscribe. Go Fins.